Island
Popping
Style.
on your TV.
And now, Urban and Island Style.
It's time for Urban and Island Style.
Island Style.
Urban and Island
Urban
Style.
and Island Style.
Get ready. Happy time.
Island Style. Urban and Island Style. Island Style. Urban and Island Style. Urban and Island Style. Popping on the TV, Urban Island Style. Boy, la 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 da. Boy, la 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 da. Popping on the TV, Urban Island Style. Urban and Island Style. Urban and Island Style. Urban and Island Style. Popping on the TV, Urban Island Style. Urban and Island Style. Urban and Island Style. Urban and Island Style. Urban and Island Style.
Urban and Island Style.
On today's episode of Urban and Island Style, during the Student of Wealth series, we're going to talk about owning and operating a business as an investment and growing your business. In the studio today is the money professor, Chris Longworth from KIRO News Radio, 97.3 FM, and KTTH 770 AM. Chris Longworth had 4 decades of experience in finance, business, and systems implementation. From the time he graduated college, whether he has been assisting clients or helping businesses maximize efficiency, his goal has been to educate. Chris actively seeks out higher learning himself, and that drive transcends his own journey. It evolved into a love for teaching and service, and he has structured his own show around deconstructing misconceptions and answering questions openly and honestly. With each episode, you can learn to employ strategies to fulfill your expectations of your money. Student of Wealth video series, sponsored by Urban and Island Consortium, is an invitation and an opportunity to rearrange the furniture in your personal and business finances. Participants gain access to expert insights on strategic planning for personal finances and for folks like me that are actively building a business or multiple businesses. Whether it's a non-traditional government contract-focused business or rewarding craft fair vendor booth business. In this series, you will learn how to generate income, replace income, and protect income for business operations. We'll be right back. When Hawaii got shut down in 2022, I was faced with a new financial reality. My husband and I had been dating for about a year. I was in the process of preparing myself physically, mentally, and emotionally for marriage. I knew this amazingly humble Hawaiian man was for me because he presented himself to me in a way that my intention would recognize. I was a freelance beauty professional and a craft fair vendor booth pro that was used to generating cash on a daily basis because I used my creativity to make my own products. I also had a modest amount of distributors wholesaling my products on and off island. And I had a couple of websites that generate extra income outside of the weekly craft shows. I had a plan. I was working my plan. But what I really wanted was financial independence. Unfortunately, I didn't know how money works. I just knew how to craft for cash. With everybody locked down for months and all the markets closed, my ability to generate income stopped. I had enough money in savings to cover about 6 months of expenses, but I really didn't have enough. In reality, the time toll of COVID on Maui was 9 to 10 months. Plus, I had a major surgery in October, and that immobilized me for additional 7 weeks. Because I'm a self-employed person, I didn't qualify for any financial aid until the end of May of 2021. So I accepted an offer to fundraise while learning at a franchise barbershop how to improve my hair cutting skills. I call regular jobs fundraisers, because I am an entrepreneur at heart. I use cash from my crafts to pay for my own everything. Without cash, I couldn't pay for anything. I tried using the time to invest in learning new skills, but the effects of fear, of not having enough, overwhelmed my mental capacity and plagued my mental health. I fell into this season of life where everything I did ended up costing me more than I made. I found my fear-based actions ended up getting me deeper and deeper in debt. The biggest mistake was repurposing the money that I was using to pay off my student loans to reroute it to my cost of living expenses. When we finally got up and running again at the craft fair, I had a customer come purchase a ton of my products, my flower hair clips. She was buying gifts for her loved ones back home. Her son was an insurance guy. She introduced me to this concept of how money works. Her and her son soon became my financial coaches. Things were beginning to feel like they were getting back on track. I was saving again, but not just an emergency fund. I was upgrading my thinking to allow me to invest in my financial future. I had an idea of how it was working, but I didn't know why it was working. All the details are in the why. So I decided to do what any Ebony collegiate dedicated to lifelong learning would do. I decided to become a student of wealth. I talked myself into seeking the best mentors my money could buy. One to help me generate more income to fund my young investments, the other to guide me through financial education program. I had a Roth IRA and an IUL, but then the government decided to change the rates in the Security Act. It's basically a short-term decision that has long-term effects on how accounts are taxed. Retirement accounts specifically. It affects the owner's distributions and the inherited beneficiaries, putting both parties in much higher tax brackets, which generates more money for the government and less money for the intended beneficiary or the end user. So almost immediately after hearing of this, I was inspired to check up on my personal investments. I found that one had decreased by 30% and the other had grew only $70. I had invested $16,000 over 12 months and I only got $70. Ugh. That meant I either needed to get another source of income to build back up what I lost in the mutual funds, or become a wiser, more strategic steward of what I already had, or find another investment, or maybe a combination of all of those things. So I ended up closing my Roth IRA and my SEP IRA because they were losing money every month. What I didn't know is if I would have made a simple change in how the funds were invested, I could have got a better return than that Roth IRA. I didn't know then, but I do know now. About a week later, I enrolled in a national financial literacy certification program. I took the money that I would have invested into the IRA and I asked Chris if I could work with him to further my financial education. He pointed me to his website, which changed everything for me. He said that he wasn't interested in trying to sell me anything, but he had a podcast that I should listen to. He also said that if I was serious about becoming more financially literate, to give him a call. So I did. I began to study his material and the certification program material every time I had a moment to get away from the two businesses I was operating. In doing so, I began to transform my financial habits. I found out that understanding what and why in financial engagement gave me the confidence and courage to make better decisions with money. On today's episode of Urban and Island Style, during the Student of Wealth series, we're going to talk about owning and operating a business as an investment and growing your business. In the studio today is the money professor himself, Chris Longworth from KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM and KTTH 770 AM. Chris Longworth had 4 decades of experience in finance, business, and systems implementation. From the time he graduated college and assisting clients or helping businesses maximize efficiency, Chris actively seeks out higher learning himself, and that drive transcends his own journey. It has evolved into a love for teaching and service, and he has structured his own show around deconstructing misconceptions and answering questions openly and honestly. I love that about him. With each episode, you can learn to employ strategies to fulfill your expectations of your money. Get your money to do for you what you want it to do for you. Let it create the life that you want to have. The Student of Wealth video series, sponsored by Urban and Island Consortium, is an invitation and an opportunity to rearrange the furniture in your personal and business finances. Participants, viewers, listeners all gain access to expert insight on strategic planning for personal finance and for folks like me that are actively building a business or multiple businesses that are non-traditional. Whether it's a government contract-focused business or a rewarding craft fair booth business. In this series, you will learn how to generate income, replace income, and protect income for business operations. We'll be right back. Aloha, Maui. Happy 2023. I'm so excited to be back in the studio with Chris Longworth. Welcome to the show.
How are you, Taz? It's great to be here.
Wonderful.
Great to be here with you and everyone.
Yes, thank you so much. So, Chris, I invited you here to help rearrange some furniture, right?
That's correct.
Kind of in the space that occupies financial behaviors that do not serve to the highest potential, especially in favor of the operator. So, whether that is business or personal finances,
right.
I'd like your insight on some good practices moving forward in 2023 to help everybody to step closer to their financial future of their choice. Is that okay? Can you dig it?
Yeah, I can dig it. Taz, what you're asking and what the root situation is for most people is a lack of knowledge and understanding. They truly don't have the basic understanding of how money works, how investing works. Most people I find have a certain expectation. They all have a similar desire of what they want to see happen, but yet when it comes time to execute upon that, often they find that it's not happening as they desired, or what they thought would happen is not going to happen. What they wanted to see is just not possible at that time. And so there's a lot of things that people run up against when they don't have the proper knowledge base to make certain decisions upon. It puts you at a disadvantage. You're now guessing. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
It does.
This is an area where you don't want to guess. Finances and money and investing, especially when it comes to your future, your retirement planning, I find that a lot of folks that take the responsibility away from themselves because they don't have the knowledge to make a decision. They give that responsibility to someone else, yes. And generally that's where things will go wrong. Sure. Because in that exchange, if you think about it, you're giving up your power to a salesperson that is selling you something.
Yes.
So think about that for a second. Yeah. A salesman that is selling you something, you're going to ask him for advice?
About your money. Oh my gosh.
So it becomes one of those scenarios. It's like a V8 moment. It's like, why would I ask the guy? No, I need to gain enough knowledge for myself that I can make better decisions. Sure. And that gives me the confidence. The knowledge base gives you the confidence to be able to make that decision and know what's going to happen. And then you have, with that confidence, now you've removed the fear. Now you have the ability to enjoy what your planning is all about. And that's a whole different scenario, Taz. It's one of the things that a lot of folks struggle to achieve, but yet they desire it, and they don't know how to do it because they don't know what tools to use. Simply put, at the end of the day, your expectation of the money must be in perfect alignment with the tools that you are using. And that's where I find that a lot of people have a problem, or if they don't have a plan, generally that's even worse. But the ones that do have plans, they may be using the wrong financial tool and not even realize it because they don't have enough knowledge to draw from. Does that make sense? I mean,
it does, and I actually want to unpack that a little bit. I love that. So the tools that you use should be in alignment with the goals that you have.
Exactly.
And so in other words, if you are someone who wants to be able to travel 20 to 45 days a year, and you would want an instrument that would allow you funds to do that. If you're someone who wants to be able to fund one of your grandchildren's college or your child's wedding, or you want to buy a home, or you want to just be rich.
Whatever your expectations are, and everyone has that expectation of their money.
Sure.
We all know that we want it to do something for us. Generally, the knowledge piece comes in, they don't know how to make that happen. And that's where proper planning, proper usage of all the financial tools that are available can make all the difference in the world. When you do it right, you plan it well, as you are learning, it can make a dramatic difference in one's life.
Absolutely.
Truly, truly.
So what I love about you, Chris, is you specialize in education.
From one generation to the next. That's the goal for everyone at the Financial Education Group. Our sole purpose is to make sure that the foundation of knowledge is passable from one individual to the next individual. So we make it plain, we make it simple, we make it understandable, we make it so that everyone can gravitate to their own level of understanding. And that's not by using big words or fancy language. It's really just being able to relate very simply, what does money do and how does it affect your life, and the decisions that you make. What impact does that decision have upon your money?
That's right. So we're talking today about business as an investment, right?
Exactly right.
And so when we're talking about investments, there are some fundamental principles, correct?
There is.
One of which, and not necessarily the most important, but definitely a good place to start, is risk and reward.
Exactly. It's understanding some basic fundamentals, we call it, the fundamentals of business operation, right? The risk has to be commensurate to the reward. In other words, risk first. The reward is not going to happen on the front side, and a lot of people get that backwards. They look for the reward immediately. No, that's a wrong paradigm to operate from. You're not going to get the reward immediately.
That's right.
What you're going to do is you're going to risk yourself tremendously. You're going to put your everything that you're doing is going to be at risk until you start to gain momentum and success in your business. And that success, even minor, even small success, can build momentum. That momentum then can build an ongoing movement forward.
That's right.
It doesn't matter what the pace is sometimes. In fact, you might want to move a little slower.
Sure.
Too fast is not good, right? So I use the analogies often, Taz, because it's easy for people to understand. So here's one to share with everyone. If you're operating a business right now, I want you to think about the tortoise and the hare, the old adage in the race between the tortoise and the hare. You want to be the tortoise, okay? You want to be the slow-moving object that will get there, and it's the actionable steps that you take that will dictate the timeline of how long it's going to take for you to get there. So it really is a relation to the actions you must put forward. You must take action to produce a result.
Sure.
Things just don't happen on their own. I set a glass of water on the table, It's not going to move until I pick it up, right? Same thing in your business. The same mindset has to be applied. And if you do that very methodically and without exhaustion, as you have, Taz, I point to you, you're a great example. I mean, you run multiple businesses, you are a dynamo, and that's what it takes. See, that's the character from within that will propel you to want to succeed. Any obstacle that comes in front of you, you will find a way to overcome it.
That's right.
So it's the very basic paradigm of just what does money do and how does that money work. Really comes down to the decisions you make about that and the effect. That's what has to be looked at first. Think of it as a chess game.
I love chess.
Money is a chess game.
Yes.
Planning is a chess game. We have to think several moves out before we actually start to do anything, right? And then we make the first move, and we make a next move, and we make a third move. We might lose a piece on the board, but I have a backup plan to remove and replace that piece, right? So it's strategy is what makes all the difference in a successful business in planning.
Like with the chessboard analogy, so when I interpret that, what I'm understanding is that my initial seed in my investment would represent the king, because we're always trying to protect the king.
The risk part is your initial investment, your time, any materials you're using, it's all part of the equation. So that risk piece is what you are putting on the table first to get the momentum started, to get the ball rolling, so to speak, to open the doors of opportunity. You must put out first, right? You must put something out of yourself, your money, your time, your effort, whatever it takes. That has to take place first. The reward part is then gauged on your business model. What is your business about? What is the return on that investment that you're going to make? The risk part is your investment. The return upon that is what we look at now and we gauge, is the return you're going to receive worthy of the risk and investment that you're going to put forward? And it must be many more times your effort. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
And if I were to put, I guess, return on investment in a sense, I would say, or a way to calculate that is to kind of divide the investment's expected yield by its cost.
That's one way to do it. That's the academic approach to planning. And when we teach about the class of what we expect, I make it simpler. I'm a very simple guy, Taz. I like making things simple. Simply this: your investment needs to return at some point within a 12-month period of time. So from day one, within that 12 months, I need to be at least doubling what I've started. I have to double my investment within that period of time.
And see, when I do the craft fairs, my thing is, for a craft fair, I need to be making at least 7 times the cost of the booth fee. Like, that's the low end side, and then it's on and upward from there.
That's how you figure out how much you actually need is now you break down your actual, again, we go back to the basics of planning, and that is a budget. What does the budget dictate? What are my costs of expenses? What is my cost of materials? What does it cost me for my booth? What is my insurance cost? What is the gasoline to get there? All the things that make my business operate, I have to know to the penny what I'm spending, where it's going, and how often I'm doing that. Otherwise, I have no gauge to know how much I need to be profiting. Right? The costs are going to really be one of the most important parts of the start of your journey. So understanding what that is, and then making sure that whatever your business is based on, you can not only cover the cost, but you have profit that will pay for your life as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so another principle of investing, of course, is leverage, or the ability to pay a small amount or use a small input to get a greater output.
Leveraging of your money is a term that is well used, but mostly misunderstood, right? Leveraging of money is simple. We have a little bit and we leverage it to a much higher amount. That leverage piece is mostly referring to one of 2 types of growth. We either have accumulation growth, where the money is earning, it goes out into the marketplace and it actually earns for me, or I can gain a much higher leverage by understanding how insurance works.
Yes.
And the value that insurance represents in this new cycle of money that we're experiencing. And the value that it brings to a business is paramount. It is one of the foundational pieces that all businesses must plan on, is the right type of insurances in the right place for the right people. Now I've given myself a platform, a rock solid foundation that I can work from. If something happens, we have a provision to cover that. It's what I call the unforeseen events of business. It's the unforeseen event that wipes out a business.
That's right.
Everyone knows that you get up, you want to go to work, you want to make money. We run our businesses, we're happy to do so, and that's why we do business, is to supply ourselves with a lifestyle and our family.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But what about the unexpected event? What about that unexpected thing that comes, that COVID, pretty big unexpected thing that happened that literally wiped out business around the world. And now it's a time of rebuilding. We're building back from the ashes, so to speak. That process is a great opportunity for people to reevaluate, reset, so to speak, learn some valuable skills, and now strike out once again with better knowledge. And with better knowledge, you have more confidence. With more confidence gives a greater chance for success. The one key element to all of that is perseverance. You must be willing, as you, again, Taz, I point to you, you're a great example. Perseverance is what you show, and that is the life that you live. Perseverance part of business is the risk and reward come together only through perseverance. Can you have that piece? Because that's the piece that will not allow you to stop. That's the piece that will push you past when you think, I can't take another step. Take another step. Because there's something else there. That's where successful businesses find success. It isn't on the precipice of failure where you're looking over the edge and you're going, I'm done, this is it, I can't do it anymore, I'm out. No, don't do that. Take another step. Take 2 more steps if you can. Push past that barrier. Generally is when you find that opportunity that's been there the whole time, you just didn't see it.
That's right. I have a story that illustrated to me that same concept, except for it was a different type of insurance and it was a different situation. So I love to travel, and I think it was 2016, I was preparing for my cruise to go to Alaska, out of Seattle, actually, in your neck of the woods. 7 days out of Seattle. Alaska, Canada, the whole thing.
See the glaciers.
I went by myself. It was great. You know, I loved it. I got back after a full 10 days. And when I got back, you know, first thing I do is I go to start printing money. And the way that I print money is to start making my crafts, because I'm going to go and exchange those for cash in a few, right? So I do that. But at the time, I was still an employee, because I was using that as a fundraiser, right? So I had to go back to work, and I go to work. I get through the whole day. I'm driving my Jag. It was a beautiful car. So I've only had a Jag once in my life. Beautiful car, I loved her. I mean, she was great. So I get through the shift. I get to the first stoplight. I'm waiting in my car, and all of a sudden, bang! Somebody crashes in the back of my beautiful car, right? It immediately, I'm jittering. I just barely missed a car in front of me. I have to be taken to the hospital in the ambulance. And I'm down. I'm down for months, actually. And luckily, I had car insurance. The car insurance is when I really learned about the value of insurance, because without that, I wouldn't have been able to get, my medical covered, and that. I wouldn't have been able to receive money. Like I had a lawyer, you know, so there were resources that were made available to help me replace the income that I had been generating due to the car accident and the value of the car. The value of the car was important as far as how much insurance would
now, Taz, think of this. How about if you had business insurance as well, that covered you so that in an event like that where your health is compromised and you cannot work,
Yes.
business insurance kicks in and covers all those costs and keeps your business alive, keeps the food on the table, keeps the lights paid, keeps everything rolling forward. Insurance is one of the most misunderstood financial tools in the marketplace. It truly is. It has gotten a bad reputation through the years, and unjustly so, but it's one of the greatest foundations that you can build any plan. I don't care if it's a business plan, a personal plan, a life plan, a retirement plan. The core elements must be founded and based on infallible financial strategies, and that's what insurance represents, of the right kind. Now, be clear, there's lots of different kinds of insurance. Not all of them are good for you, right?
Yes.
The ones that are, this is where education is the key. This is what makes all the difference in the world, is when you can actually learn the difference between these tools, just as you did, and then take actionable steps to apply that knowledge and look at the results. You now have a rock solid foundation underneath you, Taz.
Yes.
If this event should ever happen to you again,
I'm good.
you have coverage
Yes,
that will
I
give
do.
you living benefits to cover that gap of time. And you now get to survive, made whole, and continue on. It makes all the difference in the world.
I want to talk about that and kind of demystify that for some people, particularly all of us who are in a non-traditional business structure or system. And that's a number of our viewers that we have here. So what type of business insurance would be beneficial? What's available, and what would be a beneficial insurance based on, or for non-traditional businesses, and what should we base our needs on?
It's a great question, Taz. It's one that I coach a lot on small businesses that are getting started. Again, you look at the value of what you're building. What is your business target income we have to identify a few things before we can come up with a number. That's what the process of suitability is all about. We go through and really design this as a personal level. So once you figure out how much coverage is required, there's two different ways you can do this. You can simply go out into the marketplace and buy basic liability, business liability coverage, which will cover the basic liabilities of a business, which is necessary. And then you can take the next step in your business, and if, again, you structure this properly, this is where I love this piece, because it becomes a blessing and a blessing.
I like that.
It's a blessing and a blessing. And how that works is this. The right type of life insurance, what we call cash value life plans, just like you have, gives you the ability to do two things as a business owner. The business can own the policy and make the payments for you. By doing so, you create a deduction for the business, because that's an expense to the business, and the business gets to write that expense off. You, as the employee of the business and the owner as well, you now get to receive this benefit, and you just get to receive the benefit. So you now have a benefit. The business has a benefit by paying the bill, and now it gets to deduct it, lowering its taxable footprint, lowering its tax liability, passing that benefit on to you. Now, how about this one? When you go to use this benefit, do it right, do it well. It's income tax free. So now you've generated the holy grail of investing. From a business standpoint, I get to deduct it and write it off. From a benefit standpoint, I get to use it, and it's income tax-free money that I get to use.
I love that. So let me ask you, what is the wrong way to use the cash value life insurance policy in your business?
We run into this quite a bit, and the wrong way is to cash it out and close it up. You'll see a lot of TV commercials these days on settlement programs where they will take your life insurance policy and give you a lump sum, and you get to walk away and it's gone and it's over. But you got a bucket load of cash, right? I'm not a fan of those, only because that's not the right way to use the program. It's designed with a very specific use, and if you use it as intended, remember, financial tools are very specific in what they do. If you use them specifically as designed, they will provide the most wonderful benefit you could ever imagine. But just like any other tool that you may have in your garage, if I take a hammer and I go to put in a screw and I beat on this, I'm going to mash my thumb. I'll get the screw in the wall, but I'm going to be hurting in the problem. I might even be bleeding, right?
Always.
Wrong tool for the job. I take a screwdriver and I can do it very neatly and easily, right?
Yes.
Same thing when it comes to financial tools. You don't want to destroy such a valuable asset that is such a rock solid foundation, but yet it has multiple uses that you can use it for. Okay. So the best way to use it is to borrow from it. The greatest story and example of this is Walt Disney. Everybody knows who Walt Disney is. Nobody knows the Walt Disney story. And simply put, Walt Disney went to 27 different banks in the middle 30s trying to find funding to build his dream Disneyland. Got laughed out of 27 banks.
Wow.
Was sitting with his financial advisor and was terribly depressed. His dream was not going to come to life. Disneyland was not going to happen. His financial advisor simply turned to him and said, Walt, why don't you just borrow the money from yourself?
Sure.
Walt Disney had a cash value life plan. He borrowed $3,000 from his plan. Disneyland was started on a $3,000 investment.
Lovely.
That $3,000 investment has turned into a multi-billion-dollar corporation. It's the exact purpose of the value of the financial tool used correctly. Now you create this opportunity for yourself that you can't find anywhere else. Pay yourself back. That program just enhances through time. Now you create this foundation that you really can stand very strong on. Even in tough times, there's an asset that you can use to keep yourself alive. Make sense?
It does, and I love that. I'm actually a former Disney cast member. That was my college internship. So his investment has affected me personally decades after he made it.
And that's the perfect example of way to look at how using financial tools correctly, you can get a fantastic result.
Sure.
If you use it incorrectly, you don't get the result. You get a bad result, right? So it's really the knowledge piece. This is, again, comes all the way back down to knowledge. How does the tool work? What is your intention? What are you wanting to have happen? Put those two things together so they line up and match perfectly, your expectation and the tool, perfect alignment. Now you have success in the making.
If you can't manage a little, you won't be able to manage much very well.
Very well said. It comes back to that understanding of the process, understanding of how things work. Your confidence in that knowledge is what gives you the ability to make those types of what I call fine-tuning decisions. And so the more you learn, the more ability you gain, the more confidence you gain, the more control that you actually take over your money and your finances. So education really is the critical element to taking and having control over your money.
So what I understand you to say basically is when it comes to investments, you need to assign an intention to the investment. But before you assign after you assign an intention to it, you need to understand plot a route to get to where you are, and in doing that part, you can identify the components that insurance tool must
whatever
have,
component is needed
or
along
whatever
the way.
The investment is to get you where you want to be. Is that a good
That's well said, perfectly well said. I mean, that's exactly right. You have to identify your intentions first. It all starts with your intentions. What are your expectations? What do you expect to have happen? And then again, our job is to make sure that the financial tools are in perfect alignment with that expectation.
Absolutely.
And so that coaching that we do goes hand in hand. It doesn't matter what your business is. It doesn't matter how big it is or how small it is.
Yes.
The process is the same throughout. It's universal. Apply it correctly and you get that same broad stroke of success across all businesses. It doesn't matter whether it's a craft fair business or the media business or financial services or building anything, repairing cars, but it doesn't matter what your business is. The principles of operation are universal and the same.
One big thing about investments and even business, or even when you're trying to identify the intention, that we cannot ignore and must consider is taxes.
There's the biggest one.
Let's talk about taxes first.
Yeah, the elephant in the room has now stood up, right? So, and very well said, Taz. Taxes is the nemesis to all of us who are trying to grow an asset,
yes.
right? So, several things have changed here recently, and since 2020, when Secure Act passed, and recently, in the dead of night, in fact, it was December 23rd at 11:59 p.m. in the middle of the night, they passed Secure Act 2.0.
What is Secure Act 2.0?
So Secure Act and Secure Act 2.0 are the new rules and laws that govern and dictate all of your usage for savings, retirement income, retirement investing, and retirement assets, and the passage of that to the next generation. So while you're alive and you're using the money, the rules have changed, and basically that to most folks is going to be higher taxes, right? So they're going to pay a higher tax rate. We used to have many different ways that we could distribute that asset when you were done with it and you passed away and you left that to your beneficiaries. That inheritance we could then take and stretch out over multiple lifetimes sometimes, decreasing the tax to a minimum amount and allowing someone to pay that over their lifetime of usage. There was huge benefits in that. You lowered the taxable footprint and you're able to make more money over your lifetime doing that because you had a longer investment cycle. Those are gone. We could no longer do that. Now in that handoff of inheritance, the rules have changed so that you must hand off this money. The beneficiary that receives it must liquidate the entire account within a 10-year period of time or less. They must claim every dime as income to themselves. It's going to push them to a higher income tax bracket. So now they're paying higher tax rate on the entire amount of money. Even the inheritance is now taxed at a higher rate. So Uncle Sam is now winning by collecting more taxes. So these types of what we call deferred accounts are what these are all governed around. Taz, simply put, it is no longer fiscally responsible to own a deferred account. There are far better ways to save your money for the future. There always has been far better ways to save money for the future. Most people don't know about it because they're not educated to make that choice. They don't know that there's multiple different ways to save money. All they know is the one that's presented to them, and generally by a stockbroker or a salesperson, and they're because they buy and sell, and they buy and sell, and that's what they do. They buy and sell stuff. Well, that's great. We need them, right? Got to have them. I don't find that they plan income. That's where I find when I do the exam and I do the analysis, they may have a large, and God bless these clients, they have a large pile of stuff, you know, millions of dollars. Not one plan of distribution.
Wow.
How about this part? It's now, we go through our analysis and we find out that that is actually necessary money, what I call the quality of life money.
Yes.
Right? This is the pile of money that in retirement and for the rest of your life must produce this quality of life. Got to pay the bills. You might want to eat once in a while.
Sure.
You might want to go somewhere and do
That
something,
sounds
right?
good. Yeah.
That money has to be held in pristine value. It cannot be exposed to any kind of risk whatsoever. And I find that most people don't have a plan of any kind to distribute those types of dollars. That's where the jeopardy can really come in, especially when we talk about planning for the future and lifelong income. You simply must have it done very, very well, very, very precisely, and then you get to enjoy a lifelong of income without risk. You'll never be poor. You'll have everything you need.
That sounds good to me.
It's knowing what to do and when to do it and what tools to use.
Good points. Obviously, I want my business to be tax efficient. And I would want to put money into the investments that lower my tax liability while maximizing my return. So with that in mind, how do I or any of us business owners or even individuals recognize, plan, and utilize tax advantage strategies for our businesses and our retirement?
Taz, I love that question, and simply put, it's understanding what tax liability is, right? It's understanding where that cycle is and where we are right now in our economy. It's understanding what tax bracket you are in.
Yes.
Simply put, even today, right now, we're in one of the lowest income tax environments of our lifetime. So simply, it is this simple. Get rid of Uncle Sam today. Pay your taxes today. Put your money away tax-free. Have a cash value program. Have a Roth account. Those are the two ways that you can put your money into the future and have it go tax-free and be there for you when you want to use it. And you've cut Uncle Sam out completely. You get to spend every dime. It's all yours. He's out. And so that is simply buy him out now.
Sure.
Get rid of him today. Don't use tax-deferred accounts.
So just so that we all understand what a tax-deferred account is, would you be able to give us some examples of some types of accounts that we would recognize maybe from our employment or our time working so that we can identify those accounts as
And right now,
no longer fiscally responsible?
Because the rules have changed, what we call traditional deferred accounts, your IRAs, traditional, your 401ks, traditional, those are all deferred accounts. That means I can take my money, I invested in those vehicles, and I get to lower my taxable footprint today. I'm not paying taxes on that money. I get to push it off into the future and pay taxes later when I use it. That used to be a good thing because generally when we retired, we dropped a tax bracket. So we were paying less taxes in our retirement. That has changed. The tax rates are increasing.
Yes, of course.
So we're still in, comparatively, we're still in a really low bracket compared to the middle 80s and the early 80s when it was 70 and 80% tax rate at the top.
Wow, that was the inflation rate?
The top tax rate in 1983 was nearly 80%. So we're in really, right now it's 37%. The very most taxes you can pay is 37%. It is an absolute bargain to get rid of Uncle Sam today. So pay your taxes today. Get rid of him. Kick him out of your future life. Put your money away tax favored or tax free, and now you've built yourself a foundation that you get to use when you want it and have it be there for you and your family, and Uncle Sam's not even part of the picture.
That would be more like the Roth, right?
A Roth account or a cash value program, like you have your IUL, your Indexed Universal Life Plan, those life solutions plans, those are the primary tools now being used. I mean, literally we're seeing millions and millions of dollars a month move into these plans, getting rid of Uncle Sam, growing your own tax-free opportunity in the future, and now you've got control. Now you are in control.
Sure.
The government is not your partner here anymore. You've removed your partner from that cycle, and that's the IRS. So there's some real value in understanding how these things work and the benefit that they bring to you as an investor and someone who's looking to build a future income for retirement purposes.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate that because just having that insight and that knowledge of what's changed in tax law, in the structure and how it applies to our businesses or our personal finances in real time is very helpful. And so I really hope the audience picked up on that. And by all means, if you need to rewind this and go back through this so that you can take notes on what's being said, that would be a great idea because these are concepts and principles that will allow you to save.
Well, Taz, just to make a point on that, and to let all the audience and members listening know, a month ago, I spent 2 days. There were 400 pages of changes. 400 pages of changes. That's what the Secure Act brought forth. So we studied them well. I keep them on my desk. Again, that's why we help folks from the education standpoint of you really need to know what has changed because it's going to change everything about what you want to do going forward. It's going to change the paradigm of your thinking when it comes to saving from here forward.
Sure.
Taz, you and I have talked many times about being mentally flexible.
Yes.
This is the most important part about business success and business management is mental flexibility. You cannot get ingrained in a dogma that is not working for you. And that is what has happened now, that the rules have changed so much. People are finding themselves stuck in a dogma that is no longer
serving.
And so you must be able to be flexible of mind and be looking for that education. Learn something. Education is power. Power gives you control. If you want to have more control over your money, you must learn how to do that. And that's what we do at the Financial Education Group. We help people every day learn how to take control and gain that power back for themselves.
I think one thing I would like to just, it's a short redirect, but I think it applies for women in business that may be getting married. One thing that I wasn't expecting when I got married is that just pushes your tax bracket up, which means you owe more money on taxes. When you get married also, I didn't have wise counsel about what it means to join incomes, even though whether you're married filing single or married filing jointly, you're still raising the tax bracket.
It's a surprise moment, is it not?
Yeah, so what tip could you give a woman that is in the process of becoming married, just so that she can take inventory of her financial situation and the transition she will go through once she gets married and ties two incomes together?
Taz,
especially if she has a business and her husband does not, or if he has a business and his wife does not.
Absolutely, and this is where that individual suitability piece, this is what we go through and we call suitability. We really get into the details of their life. What is going on? What is the we really need to understand that before we can really frame out a very rock solid foundation for them to work with.
Yes.
So it really has to be well understood and well defined.
Yes.
What are your expectations?
Right.
This is the common theme you hear me talk. We really need to know, what do you expect to happen? And that's where we can then take action and build steps that will create that expectation. So for females in particular, yes, they need to know a lot, because what happens if, and let's just go with statistics. Statistically, women outlive men by a good measure, 8 to 1. And that's not 8 years, that's 8 times longer than men.
Oh, wow.
So at the end of the day, you guys are going to inherit the earth anyway.
Oh my God.
And so it all comes down to you. In my estimation as an educator and a teacher and a coach, women need to learn far more than they know currently about finance and money, so that when it comes time, they have the skills and the ability to handle it and actually take command and control of it and not fall prey to the marketplace, because the marketplace is predatory, and if you do not have a basic amount of knowledge, you're going to have a problem.
Oh my gosh, I know that this has been such a rich show. We've learned about the importance of intention for investments, the importance of financial education, the importance in knowing and understand tax liability and how it applies to your situation. And it sounds like it just creates a need for someone who doesn't have all those answers immediately to have someone that they can reach out to, so that they can, get more answers, get the knowledge.
Taz, that's what financial coaching is about. It's those that desire to get to a place and don't have the knowledge themselves. That's what we're here to do, is help you attain the knowledge, so now we can together as a team will help you get to where you want to be.
That's right, and we really appreciate that. So I'm excited about this connection that we have.
We are as well.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. I just have a couple more questions that are not about business, but are more about your worldview. The first one is, what does aloha mean to you?
Oh my goodness. Aloha to me, I've been coming to the Hawaiian Islands for over 25 years now, and aloha to me is, it's the feel that you get when you meet someone who is truly exhibiting the aloha spirit, that aloha spirit of welcoming, it's loving, it's tender, it's helping, it's all the things that we desire. And that's personally how I choose to view it, and those that I hang out and learn from, that's where I learned it, is that aloha spirit is truly what it's about. It's helping those in need and being a good friend.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So my last question for you today, Chris, is What is the most important lesson you have learned
Oh my goodness.
over time spent in the Hawaiian Islands and or on Maui?
Wow. The most important,
Lesson that you've learned.
you know, I would have to say it's, to be honest and truthful, it would be the ability to calm myself. And I love Maui for this, is that I come here because it's the grounding portion of my life. I don't have the unique pleasure to live here, but I do get to come here and enjoy that feeling of aloha. And that's how I can say it, is that truly put your feet in the sand, you get in the ocean, and the stress just melts away. And it's that pace of life that you must learn from within. This is where we have to focus on ourselves. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes we fight against it, but we must learn to yield to ourselves and listen to that little tiny quiet voice inside that's speaking to you. That's what I have learned here, is to pay attention to that little tiny voice inside and just go with it.
Right. Well, you heard it here first. Pay attention to that little tiny voice, everybody. Well, you've added so much value. Is it?
Pleasure.
It would be remiss if I didn't ask if you wanted to come back onto the show.
Oh, I
Again, would you like
Taz,
to
I would be
do a
absolutely
residency?
honored. I would be absolutely honored to be with you at any time and to share knowledge. And as we have talked about, you are an excellent student and you're learning well, and you will be able to share this with as many as well. And so, yes, anytime you want me back, just let me know, and I will make a trip to get here. So
Okay,
I look
might be
forward to it.
sooner than later.
In April, I'm coming back, so
Okay.
maybe the April show we'll sit down and do this again,
That
and
sounds
I would look
awesome.
forward to it.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, it's been a great time here on Urban and Island Style. Thank you for tuning in to our Student of Wealth series. I hope this information blesses you. I hope that you're able to apply it. Remember, you can always rewind, go back, review this as many times as you want. Tell your friends about it. Copy, share, send the link to people that you think can benefit from the information that we've talked about. And if you have any further questions, I'll let you know how to get more information. In the meantime, it's another beautiful day on Maui. Be blessed. Aloha.
Aloha.
Cut.
How about that?
Yeah.